My grandson invited me to his engagement party. He said it was at an upscale venue, that his fiancée's family would be there, that it was important I make a good impression. So I showed up in my best thrift store dress, carrying a $15 gift, pretending to be the poor grandmother they expected to see. What they didn't know was that I owned the building where the party was being held, and by the end of the night, they would find out in the most devastating way possible. Let me tell you how we got here. My name is Diana Castellanos, and I am 67 years old. For the past 40 years, I've built a real estate empire worth $47 million. I own 23 commercial properties across 3 states, including hotels, office buildings, and the luxury event venue where my grandson's engagement party was about to take place. But my grandson, Julian, doesn't know any of this. To him, I'm just Grandma Diana, the woman who lives in a small apartment in the old neighborhood, the woman who takes the bus, the woman who clips coupons and wears the same coat every winter, the woman who sends him $50 birthday cards and bakes cookies from scratch because store-bought is too expensive. I never told him about the money. Not when he was a child, not when he went to college, not when he got his first job. I wanted him to learn what I learned, that success is earned, not inherited, that character is built through struggle, not comfort, that the measure of a person has nothing to do with their bank account. And he turned out well. Julian is 28 now. Hardworking, kind, respectful. He's an architect at a mid-sized firm, making decent money, building a life. I'm proud of him. Then he met Gabrielle. Gabrielle Whitmore, 26 years old, marketing executive, comes from what she calls old money. Her father, Richard Whitmore, owns a chain of luxury car dealerships. Her mother, Patricia, sits on charity boards and hosts galas. They live in a gated community with a private golf course. They vacation in the Hamptons. They measure people by their last name and their zip code. Julian brought Gabrielle to meet me 6 months ago. She walked into my small apartment, looked around with barely concealed disgust, and said, "Oh, how quaint." She touched nothing. She sat on the edge of the sofa like she was afraid of catching something. She checked her phone every 3 minutes. When I offered her homemade empanadas, she said, "Oh, I don't really eat that kind of food." Julian's face went red. I just smiled and put them away. She asked what I did for a living. I told her I was retired. She asked what I did before. I said I worked in property management. She nodded and immediately changed the subject to talk about her father's new Bentley. I knew then. I knew exactly who she was. But I said nothing. I watched. I waited. 3 weeks ago, Julian called me. "Grandma, I proposed. Gabrielle said yes." His voice was pure joy. I was happy for him, truly. "That's wonderful, mijo. Congratulations." "We're having an engagement party," he continued, 2 weeks from now. "It's at the Meridian Estate. You know, that fancy event venue downtown. Gabrielle's parents are hosting it. It's going to be really nice. Black tie event, about 150 guests. The Meridian Estate, my property. I'd purchased it 8 years ago, renovated it completely, turned it into the most sought-after event venue in the city. I charged $15,000 just for the venue rental, not including catering, decorations, or staff. "That sounds lovely," I said calmly. "Grandma, I need to ask you something." His voice changed. "Gabrielle's family, they're kind of formal. They care about appearances. Could you maybe, I don't know, dress up nice? Like really nice?" "Of course, mijo. I'll wear my best dress." "And Grandma," he hesitated, "you don't have to bring a gift. I know money's tight. Your presence is enough." "I'll bring something," I said. "Something appropriate." After we hung up, I sat in my apartment and made a decision. If Gabrielle's family cared so much about appearances, if they judged people by their clothes and their gifts, then I would give them exactly what they expected. I would show up as the poor grandmother, the embarrassment, the charity case. And then, at exactly the right moment, I would show them who really held the power. The night of the engagement party arrived. I dressed carefully, a light blue dress from a discount store, a bit too big, a bit faded, worn black shoes with scuffed heels, a thin cardigan with a small stain I'd accidentally left visible. I carried a canvas tote bag instead of a purse. Inside was my gift, a $15 picture frame from a drugstore, wrapped in newspaper because wrapping paper is so expensive these days. I looked exactly like what they expected, a poor old woman barely scraping by. I took a taxi to the Meridian Estate. As we pulled up, I saw the building gleaming in the evening light, crystal chandeliers visible through the windows, valets in crisp uniforms, luxury cars lined up, Mercedes, BMWs, Teslas, a Rolls-Royce. I paid the taxi driver, stepped out, and watched. Guests were arriving in designer gowns and tailored tuxedos, women dripping with jewelry, men with watches that cost more than most people's cars. And then there was me. I walked towards the entrance. A valet looked at me, confused. "Ma'am, can I help you?" "I'm here for the Whitmore Castellanos engagement party." He glanced at my clothes, my bag, my shoes. "Are you sure? This is a private event." "I'm the groom's grandmother." His expression shifted to pity. "Oh, I see. Right. This way." He didn't offer to help me up the steps. He just pointed and walked away. I climbed the marble stairs slowly, like an old woman unsure of her footing. Inside, the venue was breathtaking. I designed every detail of this space: the soaring ceilings, the imported Italian marble, the gold leaf accents, the custom chandeliers. It had cost me $3.2 million to renovate. Tonight, someone was paying me $15,000 just to use it. The main ballroom was filled with people. A string quartet played in the corner. Waiters circulated with champagne and hors d'oeuvres. A massive ice sculpture of two swans sat in the center of the room. I spotted Julian near the entrance, greeting guests with Gabrielle. He wore a sharp black tuxedo. She wore a white designer dress, Vera Wang if I wasn't mistaken, with diamond earrings that probably cost $20,000. Julian saw me, and his smile faltered just for a second. Then he recovered and waved me over. "Grandma, you made it!" He hugged me, but I felt his tension. "Of course, mijo, I wouldn't miss it." Gabrielle turned and her eyes swept me, head to toe. Her smile froze on her face. "Mrs. Castellanos?" she said, her voice tight. "How nice to see you." "Congratulations, dear." I pulled out the newspaper-wrapped gift from my tote bag. "I brought you something. It's not much, but it's from the heart." Gabrielle took it like it was contaminated. "Oh, thank you. How thoughtful." She immediately handed it to a passing waiter. "Could you put this with the gifts?" The waiter looked at the newspaper wrapping, then at the pile of elegantly wrapped gifts on a table near the back, and hesitated. "Just somewhere," Gabrielle said, waving him away. "Grandma," Julian said quickly, "let me introduce you to Gabrielle's parents." He led me across the room. People turned to look. I heard whispers. "Who invited her? I think she's the groom's grandmother." Poor Julian, how embarrassing. I heard his family is from the East Side. I reached the refreshment table. I looked at the spread. Caviar, lobster tails, filet mignon, imported cheeses, chocolate fountains. probably $30,000 worth of catering. I picked up a small plate and took a few items. A waiter watched me suspiciously, as if I might pocket the silverware. I sat at an empty table in the back, the one meant for guests nobody wanted to talk to. I ate slowly, watching everything. Patricia and Richard held court in the center of the room, surrounded by admirers, people laughing at their jokes, toasting them, praising them for hosting such a magnificent party. Gabrielle clung to Julian's arm, showing off her ring, a massive diamond, at least 3 carats. "Daddy bought it," she told someone loudly. "From Tiffany's. Julian couldn't possibly afford something like this on his salary." Julian's smile looked strained. An older woman sat down next to me. She looked to be in her 70s, elegant, wearing a simple but expensive dress. "Mind if I sit?" she asked. "Please," I said. She extended her hand. "Margaret Chen, I'm Richard's aunt, his mother's sister. Diana Castellanos, Julian's grandmother." "I know," Margaret said. "I've been watching you. You're handling this remarkably well." "Handling what?" I asked. "Being treated like garbage," she said bluntly. "Patricia and Richard are excellent at that. They've had years of practice." I smiled. "You don't seem fond of them." "I'm not," Margaret said. "Richard is my nephew, and I love him, but he's a snob, always has been. Got worse after he made money. And Patricia," she shook her head, "that woman could freeze water with her stare." "Why are you sitting with me then?" I asked. Margaret sipped her champagne. "Because I was you once, 30 years ago at Richard's wedding. I showed up in a dress his mother thought wasn't nice enough. She made sure I knew it, sat me in the back, didn't introduce me to anyone, didn't include me in the photos. I swore I'd never let anyone make me feel small again." She looked at me. "You don't look small." "I'm not," I said quietly. Margaret studied me. "No, you're not. Which makes me think there's more to you than meets the eye." I didn't respond. She smiled. "Good. I hope they find out the hard way." A microphone crackled. Richard was standing on the small stage at the front of the room. "Ladies and gentlemen, if I could have your attention." The room quieted. "Patricia and I want to thank you all for coming tonight to celebrate the engagement of our daughter, Gabrielle, to Julian Castellanos." Polite applause. "Julian is a fine young man. He works hard, he's building a career, and while his background is humble, we believe he has potential." Humble. The word hung in the air. A polite way of saying poor. Julian's jaw tightened. "We're grateful that Gabrielle has found someone who loves her for who she is, and we're committed to supporting this marriage in every way possible. We've already purchased them a home as a wedding gift, a beautiful 4-bedroom in Clearwater Estates." Gasps. Applause. Clearwater Estates was the most exclusive neighborhood in the city. Homes started at $2 million. "And," Patricia added, stepping beside her husband, "we've set up a trust fund for their future children, $500,000, managed by our financial advisor, because family takes care of family." More applause. Gabrielle beamed. Julian looked uncomfortable. "Of course," Richard said, smiling, "we can't do everything. Julian will need to contribute as well. We've made it clear that while we'll provide the house and the trust, he'll be responsible for the mortgage, the property taxes, and the maintenance. We believe in responsibility." It was a power play, a public declaration that Richard Whitmore was the provider, the patriarch, the one in control, and Julian was the dependent. "Now," Patricia said, "we'd like to invite Julian's family to say a few words.
Is Julian's grandmother here? Diana? The spotlight swung to the back of the room, to me. Everyone turned. I stood slowly, gripping my tote bag. I walked to the front, my old shoes clicking softly on the marble floor. I climbed the stairs. Patricia handed me the microphone with a thin smile. "Keep it brief, dear. We know you're not used to public speaking." I took the microphone, looked out at the crowd, 150 faces staring at me, some curious, some pitying, some openly disdainful. "Thank you," I said. My voice was soft, grandmotherly. "I'm Diana Castellanos, Julian's grandmother. I want to thank Richard and Patricia for hosting this beautiful party. This venue is stunning." Patricia smiled smugly. "I also want to say how proud I am of Julian. He's a good man, a hard worker. He built his career on his own. He asked for nothing. He earned everything." Julian smiled at me from the crowd. "I didn't have much to give him growing up, but I gave him what I could: love, values, the belief that who you are matters more than what you have." Polite applause. "And I brought a gift tonight," I said, reaching into my tote bag. "It's not much, just a picture frame, because I believe that memories, family, and love are the greatest treasures." More polite applause. A few people whispered. Patricia's smile was condescending. "But," I said, and my tone changed, sharper, clearer. "But I also believe in honesty, so let me be honest now." The room went still. "Patricia, Richard," I said, looking directly at them, "you've spent the evening treating me like a charity case, like an embarrassment. You made it clear in 100 small ways that I don't belong here, that I'm beneath you, that my presence is tolerated, not welcomed." Richard's smile faded. Patricia's face went rigid. "You judged me by my clothes, my gift, my address. You decided I was poor, ignorant, insignificant." I paused. "You were wrong." Confused murmurs rippled through the crowd. I reached into my tote bag and pulled out a leather folder. I opened it and held up a document. "This," I said, "is the deed to this building, the Meridian Estate. I am the owner." Silence. Absolute silence. Patricia's mouth fell open. Richard blinked rapidly as if trying to process what I'd said. "I purchased this property 8 years ago for $2.1 million. I spent another $3.2 million renovating it. I turned it into the premier event venue in this city. Tonight, you paid me $15,000 just to rent this space. The catering, the decorations, the staff, that's another $50,000. You spent $65,000 on this party, and every dollar went into my account." Gabrielle's face had gone pale. Julian was staring at me in shock. "I own 22 other properties, hotels, office buildings, retail spaces. My real estate portfolio is worth $47 million. I employ 340 people, and I built it all myself. I started with nothing. I worked as a cleaning lady in office buildings. I saved every penny. I bought my first property 40 years ago, a run-down duplex. I fixed it up, rented it out, saved again, bought another, and another, and another. I never stopped." I looked at Patricia. "So, when you asked if I ever thought about moving to somewhere safer, the answer is yes. I own a penthouse downtown, 3 bedrooms, floor-to-ceiling windows, worth $4.2 million. But I choose to live in my small apartment in the old neighborhood, because that's my home. That's where I'm comfortable. I don't need to prove anything to anyone. I turned to Richard. And when you said Julian's background is humble, you were right. He grew up without wealth. I made sure of that because I wanted him to learn what I learned, that success isn't given, it's earned, that character is built through struggle, not comfort, and that the measure of a person has nothing to do with their bank account. The room was frozen. I came here tonight dressed this way on purpose. I wanted to see how you'd treat someone you thought was beneath you, someone poor, someone insignificant, and you showed me exactly who you are. Patricia found her voice. This is outrageous. You lied to us. No, I said calmly. I simply didn't correct your assumptions. You decided I was poor. You decided I was unworthy of respect. You did that all on your own. Julian knew about this? Richard demanded, looking at my grandson. No, I had no idea. Because I never told him. I never told anyone. I live simply because I choose to, because I don't need designer dresses or luxury cars or jewelry to know my worth. I know my worth. I folded the deed and put it back in my bag. Patricia, Richard.
Patricia, Richard, I said. You spent the evening flaunting your wealth. You bought Julian and Gabrielle a house. You set up a trust fund. You made it very clear that you have money and power. But let me tell you something. Money doesn't buy class. It doesn't buy kindness. It doesn't buy character. You have bank accounts. I have dignity. Patricia's face was red. Richard looked like he'd been slapped. You judged me for taking a taxi, I continued. I took a taxi because I choose not to waste money on things that don't matter. I own 3 cars, a Mercedes, a BMW, and a Tesla. They're parked in my private garage. But tonight, I took a taxi because I didn't want to show off, unlike you. Someone in the crowd laughed nervously. You judged me for my gift, I said. That $15 picture frame, it's symbolic because the greatest gift I can give Julian isn't money. It's the lesson I taught him, that you don't need wealth to have worth, that people should be valued for who they are, not what they have. And tonight, you failed that test spectacularly. I stepped down from the stage. The room was silent except for the sound of my old shoes on the marble. I walked to Julian. He was staring at me, tears in his eyes. "Grandma," he whispered, "why didn't you tell me?" "Because you didn't need to know," I said gently. "You needed to grow up without depending on me. You needed to build your own life, and you did. I'm so proud of you. But all this time, I worried about you." "I know, and that's beautiful. That means I raised you right." Gabrielle stepped forward, her face a mix of shock and calculation. "Mrs. Castellanos, I had no idea. I'm so sorry if we seemed—" "Don't," I interrupted. "Don't apologize now. Don't pretend you would have treated me differently if you'd known I had money, because that's the problem. People should be treated with respect regardless of their bank account. You didn't learn that. Your parents didn't teach you that." Patricia stormed over. "You humiliated us. You came here with the intention of making us look bad." "No," I said. "I came here to see who you really are. You made yourselves look bad all on your own." "This party cost us $65,000, Richard said. "And you're the landlord? You profited from this?" "Yes, I'm a businesswoman. You rented my venue.
I provided a service. You paid for it. That's how capitalism works. Or did you think the building was just free? Margaret Chen, still sitting at our table in the back, started clapping, slowly, loudly. A few others joined in, then more. Within seconds, half the room was applauding. Patricia looked around in horror. Richard's face was purple with rage. "This is unacceptable," Patricia hissed. "Gabrielle, we're leaving." "Mother!" "Now, Gabrielle." But Gabrielle didn't move. She was looking at Julian, at me, at her parents. Something was shifting in her eyes. "No," Gabrielle said quietly. Patricia turned. "What?" I said no. Gabrielle's voice was stronger now. "I'm not leaving. Mrs. Gabrielle Ann Whitmore?" "Mrs. Castellanos is right," Gabrielle said. "You were cruel to her. I was cruel to her, and she didn't deserve it." She turned to me. "I'm sorry, truly sorry. Not because you have money, but because you deserved respect regardless." I studied her. "Do you mean that?" "Yes," Gabrielle said. She looked at Julian. "I want to be better. I want us to be better." Julian took her hand. Patricia made a disgusted sound. "Fine, throw away everything we've given you. The house, the trust, all of it. See how far love gets you." "Mother," Gabrielle said firmly, "I love you, but you're wrong, and if you can't see that, then maybe we need some distance." Patricia's eyes filled with tears, but they weren't tears of sadness, they were tears of rage. "You're choosing them over us? I'm choosing to be a decent person." Richard grabbed Patricia's arm. "Let's go." They stormed out. The room erupted in whispers. I turned to Julian and Gabrielle. "You don't have to choose sides." "Yes, we do," Julian said, "and we choose the side that treats people with dignity." Margaret Chen approached, smiling. "That was magnificent." "Thank you," I said. "I knew there was more to you." She extended her card. "I'd love to have coffee sometime, compare notes on dealing with insufferable family members." I laughed. "I'd like that." The party continued, but the energy had completely shifted. People approached me throughout the night. Some apologized. Some asked for business advice. Some just wanted to shake my hand. At the end of the night, Julian drove me home in his car. Gabrielle came too. "Grandma," Julian said as we pulled up to my apartment building, "can I ask you something?" "Of course." "And you're really worth $47 million? Give or take a few million, yes." He was quiet for a long moment. "And you live here?" "I do." "Why?" I looked up at my building. Old brick, 5 stories, fire escapes on the front. "Because this is my home. Because wealth isn't about where you live or what you wear. It's about freedom, and I have all the freedom I need." "Will you teach me?" he asked. "About real estate? About building something?" "You're already building something. Your career, your relationship, your life. That's what matters." "But I want to learn from you." I smiled. "Then yes, I'll teach you." Gabrielle leaned forward from the back seat. "Mrs. Castellanos, can I ask you something?" "Call me Diana." "Diana," she corrected. "Do you think I can change? Do you think I can unlearn all of that?" "I think," I said carefully, "that awareness is the first step. You saw what your parents are. You chose differently. That's significant. But change takes time and effort and humility. I want to try. Then I'll help you." I got out of the car. Julian walked me to my door. "Grandma," he said, "I love you. I love you too, mijo. Tonight, when you were on that stage, I've never been more proud of anyone in my life." I cupped his face. and I'm never more proud of you, not because of your job or your fiancé or your future, but because when faced with a choice, you chose kindness." He hugged me tightly. After he left, I went up to my apartment. I made tea. I sat by the window, looking out at the city lights. My phone buzzed. A text from Margaret Chen. "Best engagement party I've ever attended. Thank you for the show, and for reminding me why I left my family's money behind and built my own life." I smiled and replied, "Thank you for sitting with me. See you for coffee." Another text came in. Unknown number. I opened it. "This is Richard Whitmore. You humiliated my wife and me tonight. This isn't over." I stared up a message for a long moment. Then I typed back, "You humiliated yourselves. I just held up a mirror. If you don't like what you saw, that's not my problem. It's yours." I blocked the number. Then I opened my email and sent a message to my property manager. "The Whitmores are no longer welcome to book from Meridian Estate for future events. Add them to the restricted list." A petty move, perhaps, but effective. I finished my tea, looked around my small apartment, the old furniture, the faded curtains, the framed photos of Julian at various ages. This was home. This was peace. This was enough. And tomorrow I'd wake up, take the bus downtown, check on my properties, manage my empire, and then come home to this small apartment where I could just be Diana. Not Diana the millionaire, not Diana the landlord, just Diana. And that was worth more than all $47 million combined.